This video is actually about throwing the first stone. So it's about so basically when I was directed to the article How to Forgive a Narcissist in 25 Minutes, and basically the bottom line is, from that, looking at what is it in us, what was it in us that we really wanted from the other that we ended up not getting, the thing that upset us the most, the thing that actually got us to the point where we went, all right, that's enough, I'm not going to be in this relationship anymore, or we responded in such a way that the other, at this moment we're calling the other a narcissist, but really they're just a very extremely traumatized person, like traumatized to the nth degree and haven't actually done any healing on it. We respond in such a way that the narcissist goes, okay, I'm done here. I've lost my empath supply here. I'm not getting my needs met here. So I'm going to go for the kill. I'm going to go for the jugular. I'm going to get rid of this empath because they've proven to me to be worthless now, and I'm moving on. So usually when a narcissist gets to the point where they're not getting their needs met, they actually will, basically try to kill. They don't just leave in a respectful, nice way. They generally try to kill the previous supply on some level to back up their viewpoint that they were so hard done by, and then they lie, and they try to blame shift and not reflect or look at themselves in any ways. And so someone who's been discarded from a narcissist can go through one of the most deepest forms of grief that anyone can experience, because you have to sort of accept that we were never loved the way we desired to be loved. We believe we deserve to be loved. We were never treated respectfully or kindly or with deep compassion, with the way that we really... the story goes on and on there, okay? Now, the truth of the matter is we need to look at what were we not getting from the other. What were we not getting from the other? What actually is it that we were not getting from the other? So in my situation, I wasn't getting compassion, empathy, balance regarding nurturing, like working out good, healthy food habits, of good eating, nourishment of the body. I wasn't getting support and balance with sustaining a spiritual life that was jointly committed to. I wasn't getting consistency, reliability, commitment to visualizing and honoring the dream and making the dream real, and collectively actually working as a team. I wasn't getting honor in honoring my worth of person and also as wife, and I wasn't getting acknowledgement for all of my hard work and what I was doing and my actual dedication to pretty much solely doing the job of about 5 or 6 people, working my body to an early grave, like trashing it, killing my shoulder, killing my, just absolutely killing my body. For what purpose? So blah, 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 blah. So everywhere that I felt like I wasn't getting my needs met, I have come to realise through an ongoing process, but more so today from this article from Kenny Wise when he was interviewing this lady, Michelle, who was at this point divorced and still was holding resentment. And she let her counselling session get videoed, and it was a profound counselling session. And that's where I want to get into the future with my YouTube. I want there to be profound counselling sessions that are broadcasted live, like with me, with a therapist, or a really learned person working with me, or in the future me with other people. But for now, really happy for my process, my deep revelations to be videoed, and I'm happy for them to go on YouTube for people to see the process. So basically, from that article I watched this morning, he asked her to turn it around. He asked her, like, what did you... I'm actually going to upload, link that video to this YouTube account so you can watch it for yourself. But basically, throughout the interview, Kenny got Michelle to ascertain what it is that she brought to the marriage. What was it she... And then, she said, well, like reliability, consistency, blah, 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 blah. And anyways, everything that she wanted from her husband that he wasn't giving her, she was actually doing for herself and for her kids and her marriage. She was actually doing that herself. So she came to realise that what she was hoping the other would bring to the marriage, she was actually bringing to the marriage, and she was bringing it to herself. She already was giving it to herself. She already had that skill set to give it to herself. And then the other thing that she had to look at, or that she was invited to look at, was what was it that he brought to the marriage for her to look at. And when she looked at the elements of him that were really upsetting her, his unavoidance, his look, it goes on and on, but basically they were her denied childhood trauma areas that she hadn't forgiven herself for. So she was still repeating a pattern of attracting people that treated her the way she had treated herself when she was a young child. And the shame and the denial around that she could do that to herself as a young child is what had created her trauma bond, that then created her to create those dynamics with others, including the marriage. And she said that when she realised that the thing that she found the hardest to forgive of all, and when she shared this, he asked her this question, what is it that you need to forgive yourself for? I basically said, for not listening to yourself, for not honouring yourself, for not forgiving too much, and then I started to cry inside myself. And then she pretty much said the same thing that I said. And then as she was saying it, and he went deeper with her, I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into my grief, like a grief that I had, like really deep grief, like, I knew that was a crux point, that was a core point for me to look at and deal with. And then I actually went back and rewatched that interview just to really hear the words properly, because the first time I'd been crying so much that I was like, whoa, listen to it again, I'm going to listen to it again. So basically, my deep shame and my area where I really need to forgive myself for, it's the fact that I just didn't step up and allow myself to be a child. I didn't reach out and ask for or get what was required around me in order to allow me to be a child and a young teenager. I took on responsibility that was never for mine to take on. And so I lost my childhood. And obviously at the time I felt like I had no choice, because if I didn't do it, then my siblings would die, because I kept them alive by feeding them, clothing them, changing their nappies, carrying the water up from the river. Like, my mother would be sometimes blacked out for days on end. She was an alcoholic at that time, and she has told me that she doesn't remember a lot of the earlier times when everyone was little. And she even said to me, I acknowledge it must have been you that kept them alive, because I don't even remember it. I said, yep. So as a little girl, 7 and up, but especially 9 and up, but especially 11 and up, 9, 10, 1979, from 1979 onwards, so it was 9. I didn't have I chose to ensure that my siblings stayed alive, and I did everything I could to make sure they stayed alive. And there was no one looking out for me. I didn't have anyone looking out for me. I was only a little 9-year-old, and I chose to take on the responsibility of keeping my little siblings alive, but also protecting them from sexual abuse predators, not just feeding them and making sure they were clothed and not scared at night when there was a storm, but protecting them from horrible people, because my mother kept attracting really horrible people that were sexually abusing me. They were trying to sexually abuse my siblings. I used to protect my mother from these people. I've smashed bits of wood across people's backs of their heads to stop them from raping her. I've bitten chunks of flesh out of someone's bum who was raping her, and I had a bit of his bum and my blood in my mouth, a bit of his bum flesh and his blood in my mouth to stop him from raping her. I remember smashing, it wasn't a bit of wood, it was a chair. I remember smashing a bit of chair on someone who was raping my mother so horrifically that I think her neck was almost going to get broken, because her neck was just like it was on a really bad angle. She was unconscious. So basically, these are memories that I've got, and many more, of course. It's a really hot day up here in Northern, and I've taken my phone out of its cover to let it air out, but I just touched it and it's boiling hot, so I don't know how long I get to go with this video, but I'm just trying to say that at the time it felt like I had no choice, and most of these children who are thrust into these situations of having to look after their family and giving up their childhood, they really sort of seemingly don't have a choice. And I have to forgive myself for the fact that I didn't look at other options. Like, I was only a child. How's a child supposed to know that I could have... There's so many solutions. I could have gone to a stranger and asked for help, said, please help my mum. This lady in this interview, she could have also done stuff. There are authorities out there that, some of them we can't trust, but some of them you can. So we have to forgive ourselves for the fact that we made that choice to sacrifice our childhood. We made the choice. We made the choice to sacrifice our childhood. We made the choice to sacrifice our childhood. And that is where most of us don't forgive ourselves. Most of us hold this deep-centered shame around that choice and the fact that we weren't able to even do what we set out to do effectively. So I was a little 9-year-old, and originally a 7-year-old, but then a 9-year-old, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old, illiterate, isolated, no support, being abused myself, malnutrition myself. I did the best I could to keep my siblings alive, and obviously I failed miserably, and all sorts of horrible things happened, like they went hungry. Often I couldn't keep them warm. They were scared. They needed an adult, right? They needed an adult. So I failed miserably. So I had all that guilt around not even being able to do my choice properly. Not even able to live up and give them what they needed. And so we don't realise it, but Kenny Weiss is basically saying this deep-seated lack of forgiveness usually comes down to a very early choice we made as a child. For those who consciously worked with a sexual abuser, say there's people that enjoyed the orgasms that they got when their perpetrator came in and fingered them, or used their tongues and their fingers, and then eventually used their penis. And it wasn't until they started to use their penis and they started getting ripped apart that they went, something's wrong here. Well, sometimes by that stage they were old enough that the penis didn't rip them apart, but there was conflicted, irky, sickly feelings, but their body would still have orgasms because the body responds to sexual stimulation by, that's just what the body does. It has a sexual response if it's done in a nice way, not a horrifying way. So a lot of sexual abuse survivors have very conflicting feelings around their sexual abuse, because they feel like, like they would sometimes say, are you coming to my room tonight? Because I was so groomed to believe that it was a good thing. And then when they're adults, they go, oh my God, I asked for it, but they never asked for it. Oh my goodness, I asked for it, but they never asked for it. They were groomed. So this is where forgiveness of our deep childhood choices is so imperative, which is something I just learnt this morning. And then at church, it went on to the he who throws the first stone, like the one who has never sinned, throw the first rock story from John chapter 8 verses 1 to 11. And for those of you who don't know the story, it basically, the pharaohs and the scribes are the ones responsible for contaminating the Bible and adding stuff in the Bible that's fear-based, which people condemn the Bible for being, a lot of people condemn the Bible for having words in it and saying things that just are not that great. And usually that's the scribes trying to undo, or trying to put fear into people. See, the original word of God, there wasn't fear so much in it, but the scribes added the fear element, and that's what's confusing. So the original Moses law is like he who throws the first, like the first one's death by stoning for the sins, but Moses' tablet says, and let the accuser be the first one to throw the first stone. So the accuser of the person who's done the sin has to be the one that throws the first stone. So it actually holds the accuser to account as well, for they've got to be the one that actually does the first blow that kills that other person. So if they're accusing someone of someone genuine and they throw that stone and they're the beginning of that person dying, it's on their head, but they're the ones to throw the first stone. So it's not throw stones at someone who's been accused of a sin, which is what they used to stone people to death for stuff, but the accuser was often off somewhere else, not even part of the process, just completely absolved of the responsibility of this other person's death. So this lady gets brought up to the Pharaoh and the scribe are trying to undo Jesus. They're trying to take away Jesus' credibility, and they take this naked woman who was caught in the act of adultery. Now we don't know, the male that was in the act of adultery might have been part of the clergy in the church, for all we know, okay? And it very clearly says that it's got to be, for adultery, it's got to be the man and the woman that get held to account for adultery. But in this case, it was just the woman, and they brought her up naked, like brought her up in front of everyone, similar to Witch Hut Salem days, right? Brought her up to the front naked for everyone to gawk at and scoff at and rah-rah. And the scribes and the pharaohs are there like, hold her to account, Jesus, hold her to account. And he basically wouldn't respond. They got, come on, hold her to account. She needs to be held to account, because they wanted him to say something that they could use against him to say to his followers, he's full of shit, he's hypocritical. In the Bible, it actually says this, and he obviously doesn't know the Bible, does he? But what Jesus did instead was he went down to the ground, he stooped to the ground, so he went under the sinners, he put himself under the sinners, he humbled himself. And there's a statement by St. Elizabeth Seton, the gate of heaven is very low, only the humble can enter it. Humbling oneself under the sinners is one of the most God's glory actions you could ever do. You're in such God's glory if you can take yourself under the sinner, and you put yourself under the sinner. Now, one of the stoop to lower than the sinner. And what this basically means is humbling oneself to the point of, Jesus started writing in the sand. And then they're going, what do you say? What do you say? And Jesus is like, well, okay, let the one who has never sinned throw the first rock. And then he stooped down again, said nothing more. And then when he stood up, everyone was gone but him, because everyone there had sinned, so no one could throw the first rock. And then she says, no one's condemned me. Has anyone condemned you? She goes, no. And he goes, well, I do not condemn you either. I do not condemn you either. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Now, what this is also saying is that when there's a situation of injustice, now the adultery was definitely like not good, okay, not as God wants us to be, but to go to a place of vengeance and to try to create entrapment for others is just as sinful, if not more sinful. So this is actually the truth of the matter. When someone does an act that's perceived as sinful, if we respond from a place of vengeance, or trying to entrap the other, or trying to hurt or condemn or persecute, we're no better. So even if it's really big, everyone. So being caught in the act of doing a sin. If we're caught in the act and we're naked in front of others and we're persecuted and we're being held to account, we always have a desire for wrongs to be righted. But we can't heal sin through vengeance and entrapment or pointing fingers. Okay? We really need to get to a place of stooping down, drawing in the sand, and we'll take it to another level, breathing, deep breathing, in and out, time out, asking for God's perfect words. And often in a situation where we're caught in the act of something, and we've created a sin, or we're responding in a way to someone being caught in the act and people are trying to bring us into it to attack the other, we need to actually come from a place of no action, just gentle kindness and calmness. Gentle kindness and calmness. I mean, this has been one of my biggest lessons that I've had to learn, is to not react and to not keep recreating and repeating sin. My sin is that I lose my calmness too easy, and I get to that place of wanting to stand up for myself, vengeance, and basically trying to stop the other from hurting me, or trying to stop the other from doing this bad behaviour. But living a life in freedom is living a life free of condemnation of others. By revealing Jesus, we honour Jesus' words seriously by showing mercy. We show mercy. We need to be merciful and kind and walking and running in freedom and calmness, living and performing in trust, not being compliant to bad behaviours, but just living in full trust. So forgiveness is a big one for me. So I pulled up John to read it out, and then the forgiveness one, which is what I've really got to work on. This video is going to end in 8 minutes, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to pull up Psalms. I should have done it before. I should have I'm still learning my way around the Bible. And I just want to say the Bible is such a beautiful book. It really is a stunning, stunning, stunning book. And if you can get past all the stuff that I used to be caught up in, which was that it was full of lies, and there are lies in here. And the pastor today at church even acknowledged that. The scribes did bastardize this book, okay? So Psalms 51, which is about forgiveness, if I've got time before this video shuts down. 51, it looks like I'm going to have just enough time. Psalms 51, a prayer of repentance. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness, according to the multitude of your tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity. I keep learning that word, iniquity. I-N-I-Q-U-I-T-E. It's the second time now I've read that, and I went, I must learn what that means. Iniquity. And cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you only have I sinned, and done this evil in your sight. And you may be found just when you speak, and blameless when you judge. Behold, I was brought forward in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, I reckon that's a herb, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me hear joy and gladness. Make me hear joy and gladness. That bones you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me to your righteous spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted to you. Deliver me from the guilt of bloodshed, O God, the God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of your righteousness. O Lord, upon my lips and my mouth shall show forth your praise. For you do not desire sacrifice, or else I would give it. You do not delight in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. I've read this before. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. And I have been doing this sacrifice of broken spirit now for a few months. That's how I've ended up becoming so able to accept and surrender to God, because I sacrificed. My broken spirit actually was the biggest sacrifice. The sacrifice of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. These, O God, you will not despise. Do good in your good pleasure to Zion. Build the walls of Jerusalem. Then you shall be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offerings and whole burnt offerings. Then they shall offer bulls on your altar. Don't understand that last bit. But, this basically was a prayer of repentance. So, 51. So, yeah, when we recognize the human's frailty and sinfulness, well, when we see God's holiness, whenever sins we cover, God will uncover what we uncover. So, really, peoples, this process of deep forgiveness of ourselves is a really important process, and then from that we need to accept and understand that, sorry I'm sweating like crazy, we need to understand that God allows and brings all these people into our lives, including our narcissist partners or our abusive partners or these abusive upbringings. It is actually part of our journey, and in God's timing, it's all good and it all makes sense eventually. And forgiveness is a really big part of it. Forgiveness and surrender. Forgiveness and surrender. Now, this YouTube of mine, when I first started, I didn't realise it was going to become like such a godly... I don't even want to do that. I did not realise it was going to go down this track. Yes, God directed me to start this YouTube channel. Yes, it is because of God that I'm doing this, and because I'm so brave. Okay, I'm being very brave doing this, okay? I'm doing this because I have so much I wish to share, and I'm going to keep on sharing, and I'm going to keep on going. And eventually, when I've got it set up on my computer and my little webcammy thing and my little rah-rah-rah, we're going to be doing some big work. And I'm also going to be interviewing people and learning how to link things in. And we're going to do some big work, peoples, because there is a lot that we need to heal. A lot of us... See, my major sin that I was caught in the act of is lashing out and hurting others from a place of feeling so abandoned. Because my childhood was so brought up. My shame and my denial, my subconscious denial and my shame was brought up in such a heavy way because of having a husband that showed up everything that I wasn't looking at within myself. So I chose a husband that was showing me all my hidden selves, and vice versa. Okay? Vice versa. And with God's glory, my husband will come back and we can work as a union, and then together he and I will start doing God's work and really showing the world how to heal trauma bond. However, for now I'm so grateful. I have so much compassion, and I'm so grateful for my husband, for all the pain and suffering I've had to go through, all the times of anguish during this marriage with him, all my broken dreams, my broken heart. I have been pushed to the point of being so broken that I have fully 100% surrendered to the full glory of God's journey and the way God wishes to use me, and what it is that it's about life and living and getting to a point of pure forgiveness for everything and everyone in my life. I'm getting there. It's a big process, but I realize the first step is true, real, deep forgiveness. I'm really looking at those underlying areas of unconscious, deep-seated shame. Where are we in denial? And you'll find it in the things that we are triggered by the most. That is usually where our denial and shame lies. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video at that. And that's I may do another one today, I don't know, but I just wanted to, I'm about to take these clothes off and put my work clothes on and get on into the plastering, and I just thought I'd do this video before I got all dirty. I've got sweaty hair and everything. It's very hot here. Can you see the sweat? So sweaty, so humid. God bless, God bless. Speak soon. Love yous all. Bye. Thank you.